Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. We've been talking a lot about the fact that the Thailand pass is slated, although it's not a foregone conclusion that it's going to fall by the wayside, as well as the so-called test and go program, which has brought back to the forefront something we haven't talked about on this channel in a while, and that is quote-unquote vaccine passports. And quoting directly from a recent article from ASEAN Now, that's ASEANnow.com, and they were quoting from the NNT. The title is CCSA to consider proposal to suspend test and go and Thailand pass. And we've discussed this article kind of at length, but there was a specific excerpt in here I thought was noteworthy. Tourism and Sports Minister Pipat Ratchakitprakarn stated that the proposal will be presented at the CCSA meeting on April 22nd. If approved, the changes will most likely be effective on May 1. With the lifting of these restrictions, tourists will be able to enter the country using vaccine passports rather than having to wait for days for their documents to be approved. We discussed this at length, and especially going back, I don't know, it's over a year now, talking about, well, maybe it was last autumn of 21 or summer of 21, talking about the so-called COVID pass they tried to come up with here in Thailand, which I'm utterly against, just on a personal level regarding bodily autonomy, personal freedom, medical privacy, right to travel. You know, the reasons I'm against it are myriad. And on top of that, there's no appreciable benefit that anybody has ever been able to really put out there. I've yet to see any appreciable benefit presented, and I'm happy to be corrected. You know, put something in the comments if you think there is a benefit to the these so-called green passes for just walking around and living your life. I just don't see it. Other than the only thing I can figure out is it seems to be a surveillance technique. I can't see exactly what the public health angle is with respect to this, but you know, because for one thing, it doesn't change anything. That particular methodology. Okay, somebody that contaminates another population, I mean, at a certain point when you're at community spread, it's just inevitable that's going to happen. So what's the purpose of that technology? Now, in this context, when they use the term vaccine passport, it's a slightly nuanced difference in degree in terms of meaning. What they're talking about, basically your vaccination card, your documentation pertaining to vaccination. And as we discussed, going all the way back into 2020, there is historical precedent for countries requiring individuals who wish to enter the country to present, especially foreign nationals, specifically foreign nationals who are entering their sovereign territory, to require certain documentation pertaining to vaccination. Under the current circumstances, though, one, the creepiness of all of this sort of global, again, it can only be described as kind of a push for a sort of a personal surveillance that comes to the point of getting into your medical privacy. You know, and okay, international travel, that's one thing. You're dealing with the sovereign country and they have certain requirements to enter their country. But when you're dealing with, you know, day to day, that's a different thing. Not what we're talking about here. I'm really hoping Thailand takes a long, hard look at this and perhaps rethinks this for a lot of different reasons. One, you know, at this point, everybody who wants this treatment can get it. So what's the purpose of this documentation other than, again, to create a new onus, a new obstacle, a new thing people just have to do? It really is a restriction of freedom, and to what end? Again, I didn't necessarily agree with it, but I could at least understand the argument some 1 year and a half ago here in Thailand, when these treatments were not widely available, where they said, look, if we're letting in foreign nationals, we want to make sure that they've had some kind of treatment for this, because we don't want to essentially, you know, we have issues, we have sovereignty issues, we have public health issues. We don't want to introduce something into Thailand that could harm people. Okay, I understand the argument there. But at this point, I just don't see that's still a rational argument to be made under the current circumstances. Anybody who wants to get treatment for this can do it. So what's the point of requiring anybody to do anything on it anymore? You know, I just don't see the purpose. And especially at the point where this thing is considered endemic, at that point I think it's time to just put this all behind us and be done with it.